good that it could bring another 500,000 people to advanced Sudoku. The sum of all the question mark clues together is 178. Oh God, that's ridiculous. That is, well, it's wonderful. That is wonderful.
And that all proves that the 3 cannot go there. And there may be a different way of proving that, a more logical solve path. And that means this can't be 2 or 4. This is such a strange puzzle.
I need to put a low up here, and the only low I've got is 4. 4 must go next to 9, so whichever one of these is the 4, the 9 will go here, and I can take 9 out of all of those. 6 now must go in one of those.
That's one of the hardest puzzles we've ever done, but that was absolutely stunning. Let us just bathe in the reflected glory of the man. Gliperal, you know exactly what you are. You are terrifying indeed. Absolutely terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. Welcome everyone. I hope you're not too terrified of our guest today. And thanks for the reminder, everyone, to like the stream, and congratulations, Belsita, on your feature today. I just noticed in the chat before talking about that. Yeah, welcome. Hello, Gliperal. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, I'm excited too. This should be a lot of fun. It's good to get someone who is also like on the like evilness tier of like Grockles and those people in to talk. It's fun. It's fun to get a variety, I guess.
I'm seeing your face like 5 seconds behind what you're actually saying.
Right. Yeah. I only have one. Well, I have 2 cameras, but one of them has a shutter that will be blocked by the other camera, which is unfortunate. I could show both people's faces at the same time, but also that would be kind of confusing anyway. Hello, everyone in chat. Welcome. All right, why don't we just go right into it? Well, first of all, the first segment of our questions are sponsored by our lovely Patreon supporters and Ko-Fi supporters. One of which is new. Just below me is Nell Gwynn. Thank you, Nell, for supporting us. And we will get into the warm-up questions. So, where are you living right now? Where do you reside in the world?
Bay Area.
The Bay Area.
California. Yeah.
Nice.
SF.
That's awesome. I wish I was there these days when there's like 5 inches of snow outside. I actually had to I had to shovel, because like sometimes they will clear the streets, but they'll like push all the snow up like against the cars on the side of the road. So I had to shovel like 2 feet of snow like away so I could get out onto the road today. It was awful.
No.
Anyways, moving on.
Supposedly we might get snow sometime this week.
Yeah, the winter vortex or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah,
has finally come to destroy you all.
Although, I mean, living in the Americas means I miss out on all the European people who are online on Cracking the Cryptic, so,
right.
You know, pros and cons.
Yeah. Especially with the West Coast. The West Coast would miss out more on the European time zones.
Yeah.
Yeah. The East Coast is like, you can sort of catch most of it, but yeah, the West Coast is like, it's completely different.
Yeah, although East Coast, you're also, well, it depends on sleep schedule, but you're going to bed earlier, so you miss all the people that are waking up in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
And I've had some great conversations when it's like, okay, time for bed. Oh no, but all the Europeans are waking up. No, I'm stuck in this conversation about setting. It's like,
All right, should we ask, do you have any hobbies or interests outside of puzzling?
Hobbies or interests outside of puzzling? Yes. Oh gosh, let's see. Speedrunning for one. Mathematics in general. theater arts. Let's see, what else?
Lots of variety there with those
Yeah,
tips.
I
For
do
a
stream a
second, I
bit.
thought you were saying speed running, as in like running outside. I'm like, isn't that speed running different from
It's
regular running? But now I
not the
realize,
first
yeah,
time people.
it's the video
Yeah,
game kind.
yeah,
What do you
speedrunning. I
speed
also
run? Yeah,
tools.
that's a good question.
Yeah, speedrunning. What? A lot of games you wouldn't know. Knit Stories, Within a Deep Forest, basically anything by Niflos. King's Bird. I've been working on a task for King's Bird for the past couple months, and that's coming out soon, so that's hype. But probably the most mainstream one would be Celeste. I haven't touched that in a while. Yume Nikki is another great one.
Hmm, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go to a less easy question. Okay, what is the strangest thing you've ever witnessed in public? I mean, you
Well, see, I
live in
don't
the
go
Bay
out in
Area,
public.
so
That's true. I do live in the Bay Area. Hmm.
I could segue into the Jovi question. We'll go back to that later.
Segue into the Jovi question. I don't go out in public. You don't understand.
No worries, no worries. We'll save that one for
I
a
mean,
different person if you
I
want.
have seen some weird things in the BART train, but nothing like interesting weird. Just like weird looking people.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I've
don't
seen
know.
some interesting things on the transit in where I live as well. Someone spray painting their bike on the train. That was an epic
Oh, that's
moment
fun.
without any coverings or anything.
Probably spray painting the train as well.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
It's like
Okay.
there's just an outline of the bike left behind when he leaves.
Exactly. Uh, okay. We'll go from that weird question to a different weird question I have. So if you had to have a condiment for a meal, what would it be?
Ooh, Worcestershire sauce, probably.
God,
That
that's
or
awful.
balsamic vinegar. They're both really good.
Oh, balsamic vinegar is pretty good. That would be okay,
Yeah.
actually. I mean, that's pretty much what, like, if they bring out bread and there's balsamic and olive oil, you're just doing it for the balsamic, really.
Yeah,
That's the whole
exactly.
point.
Except then, but they put the olive oil on top, so you can't get to the balsamic. Like you dunk the bread in and the olive oil. It's like a protective shield from the good stuff.
Really? If I was pouring it myself, I'd put the balsamic on top.
But it sinks to the bottom.
Oh yeah, I guess it does.
Yeah, like when you're at restaurants, it's always divided into two bowls. That's a good idea.
Exactly, that's a good idea.
I wish they did that because then I'd just throw away the olive oil and use the balsamic.
Would you have Worcestershire and balsamic together, or just individually?
Maybe. I've done stuff like in cooking. I've done stuff like cooking with a balsamic in the pan itself and then Worcestershire on top.
Interesting.
I don't know what would happen if you mixed them both together at the same time.
And then just ate it. I don't know. Hello now. Do you have an unusual skill or talent?
Yeah, speedrunning. I can juggle, but that's not that unusual.
Oh, related to food, I guess we should ask this Wessel or Stark question. Dear Glip, do you actually like broccoli? I'm not sure why it was phrased like that, but I'm guessing there's some reason.
Yeah, I'm curious about the actual. I do like broccoli. It's one of the few vegetables that I do enjoy. And I know it's a bit of a meme in the Cracking the Cryptic Discord, but I've never been able to figure out why.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Maybe Wessel does not like broccoli. And that's why he's saying, do you actually like
Oh,
broccoli?
maybe.
Or
When we
he's a
get Wessel
broccoli hater.
on the stream, gotta ask him about the history there.
And I guess we can ask you this Jovia question because it's related to the speedrunning, which we brought up a couple times now. Are you the same Gliperal who built Jump 15 puzzle? And are you also the Gliperal who made that how to TAS Celeste video? And you're gonna have to explain these to me.
Oh gosh. Yes. So I'll start with jump 15 because that was
Okay.
chronological order. That was something I did in like high school. I was really into Team Fortress 2 back then, and
Hmm.
in particular, it's built on the well, it's not, but the Team Fortress Classic, I believe, was built on the Quake engine, so it's got all the like
Right.
rocket jumping and conch jumping in there, and I did a lot of that for a while. And I made this map where it's basically, if you're familiar with the 4x4 like 16 puzzle, we're missing one cell and you have to arrange them in order. I made basically that where you have to pogo
Oh
off of the
yes, yes, yes.
numbers in order. Um, but rocket jumping is difficult because you're limited somewhat in how quickly you can turn and how much you can control your
Hmm.
speed. So it's actually not possible to directly pogo all of the numbers and then make it into the end. You have to pogo the numbers 1 through 14. And then as you're flying towards the end goal, you have to pull out your shotgun and shoot the last number. So in that regard, it's both a jump map and a puzzle, hence jump 15 puzzle. Um,
That's pretty epic, yeah.
yeah. And then Celeste, I got into Celeste uh, for a couple years. And in particular, it's not the first game. Okay, so to briefly explain, you're familiar with speedrunning, which is just
Yeah.
beating games as fast as possible. Tool assisted speedrunning is you
Oh,
don't
I've heard
play
of
the
this
game.
actually, yeah. Yeah.
You make a robot to play the game for you. You
Right.
know, and you can basically fine tune all of the inputs, go frame by frame, and perfect every possible uh, combination so you get the best gameplay possible. And if there's random elements to it, you brute force the randomness so that it is exactly
Right.
what you want it to be. Um, and so I got into the Celeste tool assisted speedrunning scene. I forget how exactly that happened. I'd done a little tool assisted speedrunning before with Knit Stories with my own tools that I developed for that game.
Hmm.
But Celeste, like their task tools are so good. It's just so easy to pick up that basically anyone can get into it. But
Hmm.
there wasn't really a, you know, tutorial on how to do it. It was mostly just the GitHub page and then a little like blurb underneath it, and that was it. So there was this sort of barrier to entry. Um, and I learned tool assisted speedrunning for Celeste. Well, I didn't learn it, but I mainly practiced it through the was it the 2022? No, 2020. I forget the year. The summer collab. A whole bunch of us got together. I think it was Namus was definitely there. Me. Um, who was the head guy? I'm blanking on all the names now because it's been so long. But yeah, there were a whole bunch of us that basically got recruited to do tool assisted speedrunning for the summer
Right.
collab, and that was when I actually practiced and honed my craft, and I got pretty good at it. Um, So I wanted to then help other people get into it. So I made this series of the first one was basically just a how to for installing the tools and little tips and tricks that came with that, like, hooking it up properly with the level files and setting up key bindings because the default key bindings are kind of terrible, no offense. And a lot of people change it and just little things that I picked up along the way. And then the second video was about the actual, getting into tasking the game itself. Because again, when you start tasking, you don't know like how do I optimize this? I guess I go fast, but there's a lot of more mechanics to it than that. And like
Hmm.
corner boosting is very unintuitive if you've only ever played the game RTA or if you've because it's not anymore. The devs patched this, so this is a bit outdated, but it was that if you grab jumped towards a wall, you would get the speed from jumping towards it, but only if you weren't already touching the wall. If you'd already smacked into the wall, then you wouldn't get that. I think it's like plus 15 or plus 25 speed. No 40. It's 40, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's plus 40 speed in that direction. So you'd have to there were like 2 pixels before you hit the wall where you could actually successfully get a corner boost. And I noticed that was something that new tasters it was not a concept to them. So a lot of weird stuff like that, the mechanics of delayed ultras and things like that people should know about when they get into the game, just to make it easier to actually pick it up and start making optimal runs. That ended up being a long thing, but yeah.
Yeah, it also sort of sounds like an alien language to me as well, Bella. So I'm just letting everyone enjoy that, or whoever can interpret the alien language enjoy that, and then.
If you're a little familiar with Celeste, it probably makes more sense. But
yeah, probably.
Yeah, a lot of technical
I've seen
terms
people
in
play
there.
Celeste, but I haven't like gone in and played it, other than like playing with my friend or something while he's just there, or they're just there.
Anyway, now I'm developing my own task tools for the King's Bird. We're
Ooh.
making basically based off the Celeste tools. So yeah.
Anyways, puzzles.
Oh yeah, puzzles. We're supposed to be talking about that, right?
Puzzles are fun too.
I thought Celeste was the girl.
Wait. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, that never clicked for me either. That's like saying that your favorite character from Frozen is Frozen.
Exactly.
Anyways, I'm actually really interested in the answer to this puzzle. The answer to this question: what is the first puzzle you ever set? Because you have sent me a ton of things, which I am assuming is going to be the answer to this question.
Yeah, you got a little spoiler there, but okay, so the first puzzle I ever set, it depends on your definition of puzzle, but, and spoiler alert, it's not a cracking the cryptic puzzle. It's not even from like the last 10 years. When I was a kid, I really enjoyed like all sorts of different puzzles, like logic books and mathematical puzzles, and puzzle games like chess, but also Nim, if anyone's familiar with that game, Puppies and Kittens, that sort of thing. So I made, and pretty much every single puzzle I found, I would then make my own version of it once I got home. So I think so, depending on how loosely you define puzzles, the earliest puzzle I have a record of is a maze I made from January of 2000. And it's in the shape of the letter A. At least I think it's in the shape of the letter A. If you have that image, you can pull it up. But
I do have that image.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm not entirely sure if it has. I assume it has a solution, but I think that in the bottom left there, you can kind of see the arrow going in and the arrow going out. So you know where the start and end are, and the rest. Good luck.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Let's see if this is. Okay, so I'm just immediately getting trapped here. Oh. Is cursor enabled on this? Yeah, capture cursor is enabled. Okay, let's so what's that? Not quite a cursor, it's a thingy, but so I'm just getting stuck at the top here of this. I want to say poop or slug, maybe. But
You've fallen for the trap. You're not supposed to go into the slug. You see that orange splotch down there?
Yeah.
That's a gap you can go through.
Ah, gotcha.
I think.
Okay. That must be it. Or maybe it's a portal. Or oh wait, no.
Yeah. You'll notice there's another orange splotch over there where I had to get through that wall too.
But then don't you
Let's recommend this puzzle to CTC.
Or unless this orange splotch lets you out here, maybe, and then you can
maybe that's what it is.
It's all a massive trick. Yeah,
it could be.
This is a high tier puzzle.
Even back then, I was making puzzles that were broken.
Yeah. I don't think we can blame you in this case.
So that's the earliest puzzle I have on record, and then I have one that's more of closer to what the Cracking the Cryptic guys might be familiar with. That's the logic puzzle. I think it's either 2000 or 2001.
And as you can see, this is already solved, but it
Yeah,
clearly
never
has
mind
a solution.
that the solution's already on screen.
Okay, so this is actually incredibly creative, let's be real, because it looks like you have drawn houses for 5 different people and then described the houses, which is epic. Honestly,
notice
I would
how
totally buy a book of these.
Notice how one of the, and I did have a book of these, and then I just made my own. But notice how one of the houses, one of the clues is that Lottie's house has a dome, and you may be wondering which house has a dome. you see house 4. Yes.
They all kind of look like they have domes, but that one specifically says dome on it. So
yes.
That's just a clue, really. It's part of the puzzle.
So those are my first like puzzles, and then I've also sent you a PDF. I think it's called like crossword something. And this is a bunch of, okay, so in like 2nd or 3rd grade, we had these vocab word lists that we do every week, and then you get like, I don't know, tested on it or something. And I just decided, I like puzzles. I'll make a word search using the words from this vocab list. Actually, it might not have been the vocab list. It might have just been I was making a word search. And I showed it to my teacher because, I was proud of it. I was like, look at this thing I made. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And then I made another one that was a crossword, or maybe it was a logic puzzle. It's probably like the 2nd or 3rd one in that packet.
This one?
That was using the vocab words. I think I made a crossword using the vocab words.
Oh, it's probably this. Yeah, it's definitely.
That one's the logic puzzle. Yeah. So they're getting more sophisticated now. And there's the crossword. And I gave that to my teacher. I was like, look at this crossword I made out of the vocab words. And then she took that crossword and photocopied it and gave it to the rest of the class as like homework or like extra credit or something. Wow. And that was my first published puzzle. It was in like 3rd grade or something. And then I started making them like every week. I would do something with the vocab words that you'd have to figure out. You have to solve.
Even as a joke, this is like top tier, like classroom puzzle material. Like you could have
exactly.
Teachers pay teachers and publish this.
Because I was, copying what I saw. I saw logic puzzles, so I made logic puzzles. I saw homework, so I made homework. Amazing teacher, right, Naverio? We had such great teachers in that school.
Is spelled correctly. It's an interesting clue.
I think for that one, the like questions 1 through 10 are you have to figure out which ones are true and which one's false. That's the best I can guess.
Huh. Wild. Okay.
Yeah, and you can tell already I was doing cheeky things back then because I've got like 2 7s equals 0.286714, which I believe is technically correct, but it's not repeating, so it's technically incorrect. So it's like, aha, gotcha.
Oh, it's which ones are correct, and then you use the letter. Oh my god, that's ridiculous.
Maybe, I don't know. Honestly, a lot of these I've forgotten the solution for. Yeah, so you can scroll through that packet if you want, and then I got one more as well, which were a little bit later, but those ones were not based on the vocab words. They were just like, I think I ran out of ideas for what I could do with just vocab word puzzles, and I started making just puzzles that were like, solve this math problem or whatever.
I don't know what these are, but I love them. The scientist made a lotion for getting fat.
They're hiddens. They're
Oh, no, they're not. This is crazy.
Yeah, they're not great. Like, you can kind of tell it's pretty obvious where the hidden clue appears because there's just weird strings of letters. Knit assignment for the cryptic series, right?
Yeah,
I was writing cryptic crosswords when I was, oh gosh, like 9 or something, 8 or 9.
Continue next week. Well, this is awesome. Yeah, and then we'll look at the other hack here. Let me see if it's not quite formatted correctly. We need every detail. Okay. So this one already has the
Oh, right.
solution in it. Looks like.
No, they're not exactly rebuses, but there's something like that.
Oh.
Because I didn't know how to make pictures in Word, so I would just print out the text and then draw on it, and then the drawings would get photocopied.
Huh. This one makes my computer lag for some reason. I'm not sure why. I think there might be some corrupted text or something.
Or maybe it's just the images are so large.
Yeah, it could be.
Right, micro study? I'm glad you have my mom to thank partially for this. She saved everything from when I was a kid. So before this interview, I was just out digging through boxes of like really early stuff to try and find my ancient puzzles.
Wild. So was this from a later date, or was this because you said you
This
had
was later.
more
This was
developed? Yeah.
it may or may not have been the same year, or it may have been like the subsequent year. I think I made homework puzzles a couple years in elementary school. But yeah, second, third, fourth grade, sometime in there.
Like a prodigy puzzle master.
Yeah, I mean, when I found cracking the cryptic, it was like, oh my gosh, my people. I don't think I've ever felt so like, you know, there's a community for this. Holy shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I say that on YouTube? Is that allowed?
It's what are we? We're at least a few minutes into the video. You're technically not supposed to say it when you're monetized, and technically everyone is monetized so that they can make money for YouTube. Because they're greedy. I think I'm not supposed to say that either, but it's past 10 seconds, so the bot won't pick it up, is what Microcity is also saying.
Okay. I'll try to be a good boy and not swear, but I have a sailor mouth, so we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, those were awesome. Can I link those in the description afterwards?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I'll put links to those in the description. So if you guys want to, if you're looking back on this, I'm not going to do it right now, but if you're looking back at this, feel free to look through them, solve them. Oh, I could make it Patreon exclusive. Maybe
Patreon exclusive.
Because they're top quality, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And you might not even
I'll
be able to
later.
solve some of the vocab puzzles without having the word list.
Yeah, probably not. All right. So what was the first, like, I don't know, this decade puzzle you ever said?
This decade. Okay, well, see, then we have to get in like, do puzzles in Knit Stories levels count? Does Jump 15 puzzle count?
Right, true.
My first puzzle that I set as part of the Cracking the Cryptic community
Mm-hmm.
was a pentominous Sudoku hybrid, and it was basically me trying to get a puzzle on the channel. you
Right.
know, because I saw, oh, they do a lot of pencil puzzle Sudoku hybrids, so I can make one of those. And then I made one of those, and it was terrible. Don't play it. It's probably one of my worst puzzles.
Yeah, I think you talked a little bit about it during your setting video. And
I did, yeah, for airlocks.
yeah, for airlocks, yeah. But I guess did it take you a while to set that pentagonist puzzle? Or
Probably.
you were already a prodigy, so it was probably like super easy.
Well, it takes me a while to set all of my
Right.
puzzles. I think I honestly don't think that the amount of time it takes me to set stuff has changed that much since the first puzzle. Possibly because I've been setting so long. Like the first puzzles, I probably, that maze, I probably just churned it out and I was like, oh, this doesn't have a solution. That's okay. I'll just make some holes here and now it will. But, then I
Yeah.
figured out how to actually properly make puzzles and, explore all the options within the space and find clues that made them interesting. Less so for my first puzzle than some of the subsequent ones, but yeah, I think it took about the same amount of time.
And how much time would that be if you're estimating like
Um, for Sudokus, I want to say it's probably like in the 10-hour range usually.
yeah, I would say that's slightly above average, but like not too surprising to be honest, due to the complexity
Yeah,
of most of your puzzles. Yeah.
yeah, it depends on the puzzle, obviously, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I think somewhere in there.
Were you surprised how easy it was, or maybe even how hard it was to set a Sudoku or something like that?
Really?
No.
Again, possibly because I've been setting a while, but it's. I feel like a lot of people explore setting like I have no idea where to start. It
Right.
it feels pretty simple to me. Like you start with the clues you want, and then you build from there. And I probably watched a lot of the Cracking the Cryptic videos before that point, before I actually submitted anything. So I had an idea of how, you know, following the logical chains in those puzzles, you could see how the logic was constructed.
Right. So when you first started watching CTC, it wasn't just like, oh, like I can make one of these right away, or did you watch for a little while?
I think I did watch for a little while. And it's interesting. The first puzzles I watched on CTC, I went back and looked at those too. I'm pretty sure the first puzzles I saw, they weren't Sudoku videos, they were pencil puzzles.
That's it. That's unique.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the first one I saw was one of the best logic puzzles ever, which was like a snake egg puzzle, I believe. And then the second one was Mind Blown by World's Simplest Puzzle, and after that I was just hooked. And then I got into the Sudoku side of things.
With the
Actually,
fake
that's not even
titles of
true
CTC.
because I also had I realized this a lot later. I was watching Cracking the Cryptic and I saw a video pop up in the recommended. It was like Simon solves the most difficult Nickely number link puzzles or something like that.
Right.
And I clicked on it because I was curious, number link, that doesn't sound like Simon. And it was this video from like 4 years ago where I remembered it. I remembered watching this video before and just thinking, oh, well, that's that was a fun video, but I wasn't going to check out the channel or anything. And then I went on with my life. And I'm just imagining like what could have been if I got into the community 2 years earlier or something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you go back and watch like old CTC videos, you'll notice that like it takes time for Simon to sort of develop his charm, as it would.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's definitely improved as a solver as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It's interesting too, the number link video, like don't tell anyone, but he uses uniqueness in it.
Oh no.
He uses uniqueness and inference to solve the puzzle.
Uh-oh.
which is maybe why I didn't get hooked when I watched that one. But
they were already below you, so
maybe, maybe that's what it was.
yeah. So how long did it take for you to actually get your first CTC feature?
Uh, time wise, I don't know, but it was pretty quick. I think it was second or third puzzle that I set was Kropke Cube, and that one was solved by Mark. He bashed the hell through it because he didn't know how to solve it. But and I think a lot of people in the comments were saying like, oh, this is how could he do this to this amazing puzzle, ruin the logic like this? But I was so chuffed when I saw this. I was like, oh my gosh, Mark is solving my puzzle, and it was almost a badge of honor that I had like one of the few puzzles on the channel where Mark actually got to, show off the way he solves puzzles as opposed to being forced to find a logical path through it.
Yeah, as you saw in the intro, Mark begrudgingly says something like, "Well, I didn't find the logical path, but I found a path."
Yeah, exactly. And I was almost going to comment with the logical path, but then I read through the comments, and there were like 3 different people that had come up with separate logical break-ins that were all different from mine. And it was like, wow, cool. All right, my work is covered here.
So even though it was a puzzle where Mark was like, I just bifurcated it, it still felt like really good to be featured, obviously, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, back when I first joined the community, I was just thinking, if I can even get one puzzle featured, that's like, validation that I am a puzzle setter.
Right.
And now I've got like, 10? Maybe it's 9. Maybe I'm not to double digits yet. I don't remember, but yeah, it's up there.
Something like that.
I do remember that comment codec, Mark saying something like, I want to know how this puzzle works, and I just can't wait to find the logic. Not that I can't wait to find the logic, but I can't wait to find the logic. I have to go now.
That's funny. Do you still feel like that puzzle is like up to your standards or whatever?
Oh, yeah. No, I still really like this puzzle, and it's not, but it's a different type of puzzle than the ones I usually set. It's more in the vein of like 178 or Confetti Sums 2, in the sense that it's, it doesn't necessarily have the most curtailed solution path.
Right.
Because this puzzle was in part computer generated, but it has a very visually elegant theme and just a nice solve path.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm still pretty happy with this one.
Awesome. Can you describe for me in a few words, like what is your setting process? Like, how do you go from the concept of a puzzle to the finished product?
Well, see, there's the easy part, going from the concept to the finished product. The hard part is getting the first concept. Like other people, they can just be like, I'm going to set a killer German whispers puzzle today. And, boom, away they go. For me, it's a lot of, and okay, I'll talk about the easy part first. Because going from concept to finished puzzle is, I feel, relatively straightforward. You just have this idea that you want to convey. You find, well, what I try to do is I try and find the simplest form of that idea possible that solvers can actually find, and then let the deduction come from that. And then from there, I often enter this point like halfway through setting a puzzle where it's like, well, I've conveyed all the ideas I want, and now I have a half-finished puzzle, and I need to get to the end somehow. And that's the part where I struggle with.
Right.
And what generally ends up happening is which is not a good thing. It's something I'm trying to break out of. Generally, I try and just like explore the solution space
Mhm.
until I understand absolutely everything about it, like every possible logical deduction you can make from this point, and then I
Okay.
just pick the one that I like best. Which usually, unfortunately, leads to some very the word that gets tossed around a lot is flow.
Hmm.
It doesn't flow well because it's you have to, study everything possible about the grid at this point to find the next step. And then you have to do that for the step after that and the step after that.
Right.
It's basically what happened with Balance Loop, even though I do still like that puzzle. I think it's definitely a workout, but it's got a lot of really cool logic that emerged. Um, Lost my train of thought. Yeah, that's more or less the process. And
Um,
of course, it varies for some puzzles. Like some
right.
of them are just an idea, like 178, and then I play around with it and find that I can't actually execute the idea on my own, and then I write a computer to do it for me.
Right.
The appeal of 6x6s is that you put in the deductions you want people to make, and you're done. That's true. The downside of
Or
six
you're
by
not
sixes
done
is
and it's broken. Yeah, go ahead.
true. There's that as well. The downside of 6x6s, of course, is that there's almost always a way to bypass the intended logic.
Right. That is something
Like
that
it's
you mentioned a lot in your setting video for airlocks is that you put a lot of effort and a lot of time into looking. You said specifically in pencil puzzles, but I guess in your other stuff too, um, to make sure that people can't bifurcate their way through, and
yeah.
that's not actually as popular of an opinion as people might have thought a little while ago.
I agree with that. I think
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the way you want to approach things. It's okay. Well, for one, I talked about it a lot in the airlocks video because Simon specifically asked, like, how in the hell do you set a puzzle like this where there is only the one break in and there's no other way
Right.
around it? That was one thing he was interested in. But I also do it because, and if I were one of those people that could just set a puzzle, I wish I were, where I could just be like, you know what, I'm gonna set a pentaminus today, and I just set a pentaminus, right? And it's a good puzzle, and there's maybe there's a bypass, but it's a cool bypass, so whatever, good for you. But for it's I'm talking about pencil puzzles because it is
Yeah.
easier to find bypasses in pencil puzzles just because there's so many fewer options for the break in. Sudoku doesn't really have as much of that problem. Like, you know, with a pencil puzzle, you got two cells. You're looking at, let's say it's a shading puzzle. You've got four possible options. With a
Exactly.
Sudoku, you got 72 options in two cells. So it's the chance of finding a bypass is a lot smaller. But I do for my puzzles, like I'm working on a puzzle right now, which I'm going to publish soon, hopefully. I've spent a lot of time making sure the break-in can't be bypassed, and I'm sure a lot of people will say, like, stop, don't do that. It's a bad mindset to get into. But in my opinion, this one is, if you don't spot the break-in, you're gonna miss a lot of what makes the puzzle cool.
Hmm.
And it's, although in retrospect, like,
There's an internal battle going on right now.
this is the point in my setting career where I'm trying so hard to fight the urge to make everything like as hard as possible. It's
Okay.
it's as much as I want the break-in to be preserved, if there's a way to preserve the ideas
Right.
while easing up the difficulty, I think what I have ideas I want to convey, and I want the
Hmm.
solver to find those ideas. And it's like, let's say you have a puzzle where, I don't know, you've got a 3-cell killer cage that can't contain a 1, and it adds up to 9, and you want the solver to realize, aha, if this cage doesn't contain a 1, it has to be 2, 3, 4. And then based on that cage being 2, 3, 4, then something else in the box can't have a 2, 3, or 4, and you're off to the races, you know?
Right.
But instead the solver realizes, oh, there's something else in the box. If it has a 2, something, something, this cage has to have a 2. And because this cage has a 2, the other 2 digits have to add up to 5. They have to be, they have to add up to 7. They have to be 3 and 4. So then this cage is 2, 3, 4. That makes this cell a 1. And they're off to the races, but they've completely missed the elegant logic of the puzzle. So I think the best thing I could do, which I should try to do as a setter, is find a way to make each of those cool deductions, rather than build them all into one massive break-in, which tends to be my style, make them all, miniature break-ins that happen in sequence. And you discover them all one by one. And that's where I'm trying to work towards as a setter. It's not working currently, but I'll get there.
I think, chunking your idea is a good idea. Like you're saying, breaking it into smaller pieces, but it could also lead to every step feels like a mini Gliperal break-in, where you have to use everything in the grid every single step.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like for puzzles like Rosette, there's it's so hard to make that to break that up. The break-in itself is you have to understand the full ring in order to figure out where you're going. If I tried to give the break-in a little more, ease up on the solver by putting a 1 in one of the corner cells, because then they'd know the next corner has to be a 3 or a 4, the next one has to be a 5 or a 6, and the next one has to be a 7 or an 8.
Once they understood the whole ring, of course.
Right, but then you could sort of do it piecewise. You could figure out, this is one thermo, that's the next thermo, that's the next thermo. Yeah. You could do that, but I don't think you'd have the same appreciation for it, that it's not necessarily about the individual digits. It's about the ring as a whole and the way it wraps around. Once you put a 1 on the ring, then it's like, okay, this is the start of a thermometer.
Right.
And then you can roughly place out where the rest of the thermometers go. And it just you wouldn't appreciate the full picture there.
Yeah, I sort of see what you're saying. And it's difficult to do some of these break-ins piecewise that have a very intangible piece to them, where you can't really necessarily write down what you're thinking, but there's
exactly. And that's the sort of logic I love, is when you can't write down the idea you're thinking of, where you cannot make progress simply by pencil marking the grid on road. You have to actually appreciate something about it.
It tends to lead to like a Simon video where he restates the exact same thing over and over and over again, because he's trying to remember that while he's thinking about the other things, which I find hilarious personally. But I'm sure he doesn't.
And I do that too while solving. So
you're in sync, I guess, with Simon. I think we have almost an answer to this question that was asked by Turgenis, so I'll bring it up here. He had asked. This is slightly edited because I realized it was 200 characters and I put 200 words by accident. So a lot of people put 200 words, but I meant to put 200 characters. So
200 words, that's a chunky question.
Oh no, it's not 200 words, but yeah, the limit was incorrect in my guidelines. But Turgenis had asked, all your puzzles I've seen tend to be somewhat demanding. Do you think of yourself as a patient person? He assumes so. If not, how do you construct puzzles that are generally not quick solves?
Short answer, yes. I'm definitely a patient person in both life and puzzle setting. which is something I'm trying to, sort of work out to be able to. I've been talking with KNT recently, who has been encouraging me to, you know, go with the flow and just make intuitive decisions about where clues should be placed, which I think is a great setting mindset to be in if I can get myself there.
Right.
But at the moment, it's like I just when a clue can be placed anywhere, I panic. I'm like, where do I put a cage here? And do I put a clue here? I don't have the same intuition that other people do for where a nice place to continue the solve is. I just
Yeah.
generally don't have a good intuition for people talk about like the way a puzzle feels to solve, or um the flow, or the general course of the solve path.
Mhm.
It's easy for KNT to say, right? Friggin' if I
Yeah.
could have a half of his you know innate abilities. uh yeah, the other thing is, like, I do a lot of, I try to look for places in the grid that are magically constrained, because I
Mhm.
think stuff like that is really cool, where you know you wouldn't think that this clue would be doing anything, but somehow, because there's a 9 down here in this box, and because this
Mhm.
cage eliminates at least one high digit from it, then the maximum it can be is XYZ, and all of a sudden it's very constrained. And
Yeah.
then the other thing I do is, let's say the maximum value those cells can be is then, uh, I don't know, 20. The maximum you can add them up to is 20. I'll make them add up to 21, just because, and then see what that forces. I should probably just make them add up to 20, you know, to reward the solver for finding that. But
Just to see how it breaks, or because
oh, sorry,
you
other way
said
around.
the
19.
minimum is 20, or oh, you make them add as 19. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah.
I give it 1 degree of freedom. Let
Yeah.
me put it that way.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of like, is this sort of a Fistmofel joke situation? Like, Fistmofel could make a 20 cage add up to 21.
Yeah, I break my own puzzle. I do that a lot too, but it's a
Just for
side
fun,
story.
yeah. You thought this 20 cage was at to 20, but it doesn't. It adds to 21. Um,
Prove this puzzle has no solutions, and it's just a regular puzzle that you solve until you get to the end and there's a cage that doesn't add up.
Exactly. Yeah. This is actually quite interesting in terms of this question that Ufer has asked in the chat, because the way you're describing finding clues is reminding me of our discussion before. So Ufer has asked, how does TASing compare to making hard puzzles?
Oh gosh, I hadn't thought about that, but no, you're totally right. Because that's exactly what you do in tassing is you explore every possible
Yeah.
route and then you pick the fastest one. Oh no. Oh my gosh, I've been training myself completely wrong this whole time and I never even realized. I should
you
stick to tool assisted speedrunnings instead of setting puzzles.
you're going to TAS Sudoku.
I mean, that's kind of how I solve puzzles is I pick a spot and it's like this looks constrained and then I study it, and if I don't immediately see something, then I'll try and mentally look ahead every single possibility for every single cell until I'm convinced that I cannot make progress in this part of the grid, and then move on to the next one.
So would you say that you're a good solver, or uh, does that tend to slow you down? Is that like a 2-second process?
I'd say I'm a good solver comparatively. I wouldn't say I'm like, upper echelon, but I can generally, given a puzzle, I can solve it.
Do you enjoy solving?
Yeah, I enjoy solving puzzles. I enjoy solving. I mean, it's kind of become a lot of the, maybe just because I played so many, but a lot of the cracking the cryptic puzzles aren't that interesting to solve anymore. I've gotten into recently K&T has gotten me into like the old masters of Logic Masters Germany, you know, iBag and 2Ace and those guys. And their puzzles are like, oof. And I also prefer pencil puzzles in general, so that probably helps. But no, I do enjoy solving, and I do enjoy, in particular, solving the kind of puzzles I make. You know, if I can actually spot the break-in. If I can't
Right.
spot the break-in, then I hate it. And it's like, oh, terrible puzzle. Anyone solve this? What are you doing?
Who made this? Oh, Gliperal. Oh. Do you find more enjoyment in solving or setting?
Oh, setting, definitely. It's not even a contest.
That's sort of what I was asking in the way that do you enjoy solving? Um, would you set puzzles like even if no one would solve them? Would you just like find ideas for the sake of it?
Probably. I mean, I've thought about before, like if I was, you know, if for some reason I was up in, I don't know, some remote part of the wilderness and lost power for a week, I would just set puzzles. You know, they might not. I wouldn't have any way to publish them. Obviously, I'd hope the power would come back on and then I could publish them. But I feel like that would be how I would spend my time if I didn't have, you know, the conveniences of modern life to distract me.
I've often
What was
thought,
the question?
would you set puzzles even if no one would solve them, or if you were like
Right.
the last person on Earth or something?
The other thing I wanted to say was like, you know, I did a lot of that when I was young. I just set puzzles just because. And, you know, maybe my parents solved them, but I don't think they could really solve them. They were just like impressed that I was making logic puzzles.
The maze, of
And, you know,
course. The
part
highlight.
of that is because the logic I was trying to convey was fundamentally broken. Or I would, you know, have an oversight and the puzzle was not actually solvable.
Right.
Um, so I don't blame them for not being able to solve it, but they probably solved some of them, some of the ones that actually made sense.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I would like put together different pieces of different board games to like try to like make my own board game, but it just wouldn't make any sense at all. Like there would be no strategy to it. It would just like be like, oh, you'd obviously just do this to win. And I'd like try to play it with my sister, and it would be like the dumbest thing in the world.
Nice. I
Yeah.
feel that.
So that's
Making board games is hard, actually balancing stuff. It's much more fun to just make and then let it be.
yeah, exactly. Um, so speaking of not having anyone to solve your puzzles, let's talk about an early version of uh, Rosette. I'm gonna say, but I think you're supposed to pronounce it Rosé. Um,
Oh, is it actually pronounced rosé?
I don't know. I mean, that's what
I don't
that
know.
French sound looks like, but I don't know. Anyway,
Maybe it's an
someone else tell me.
American borrowed word and they changed the pronunciation, or maybe they kept
Probably,
the pronunciation. I don't know.
most certainly, they probably did. Anyways, rosé is a wine, and that's spelled a different way. But that would be how you pronounce that in French, with the E-T-T-E. I know this. Anyways, there's an early version of Rosette, whatever, sitting in testing submissions for many months, really. I mean,
Yeah.
despite the recent feature, like last December, the version of the puzzle that I was looking at was from October 2021. So it was sitting there for quite a while. I don't think that version that I saw at least had any test solves on it. So
That's
uh,
probably the longest puzzle that went from conception to feature. Yeah, is Rosette. Probably from conception to publish as well, because I really did. I set the initial version, which was broken, by the way. No one found out. I found out myself.
oh
Or
no.
was it that? Maybe it was another one. I think that one was broken. There was like one oversight. But yeah, I put that up for testing. And like I usually do, kind of left it there. Like, the testers will come, and then I went to work on other projects. And like 6 months later, the testers had indeed not come. So I decided I would just test solve my own puzzle, make a solution video and use that as the sort of yeah, you get what I mean.
Yeah,
So
proof
I
of
did
concept.
that, found out it was broken, reworked the beginning. I think the beginning is nicer now than it was before, because the original idea, oh man, the original idea, if you're familiar with the puzzle, actually, let me open,
We can.
can I screen share?
Yeah, for sure.
Or is that? How do I share your screen? Hopefully you can see that.
Watch stream. There we go.
The original idea was something with, actually, that's the wrong place. It should be one higher. This sort of shape, I'm sure you'll be familiar with,
Yeah.
and how this digit, in terms of distance around the rosette, is at least 11 different from this digit.
Mhm.
But the original thing I discovered was that, let's say this digit is a 4 and this digit is a 6. You need to have a 5 in one of these two cells, because one of these digits has to repeat. It's either going to go 4, 5, 6 here or 4, 5, 6 here.
Yeah.
And because of that, these 3 digits can't contain a 4, 5, or 6. These 3 digits can contain one of them, but not both, because if you had
Right.
4 and 6 here, then you're doubling up the 5s. And so 5 has to go down here in this box, and one of 4 or 6 has to join it in this box. So if
Mhm.
you put a fast thermometer here, then it's broken.
Right.
And this was the original break-in for the puzzle, was to recognize this, and that the only way for this configuration to work is either these are 3 apart, which gives you enough freedom
Right.
to work with, or these two wrap around. This could be like an 8 and that could be a 2
Right.
or 1.
Yeah, that would work.
And in the original puzzle, that's the reason the puzzle uses fast thermos, incidentally, was because of this trick. And then it got completely removed from the end version, because I thought this was just way too complicated to expect someone to appreciate before they've even started to get digits into these corner cells.
Yeah, of course.
So that's why that had to be changed.
Yeah, I actually was someone who tried to test the original version of Rosette, and I couldn't get anything at all.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I thought maybe you had missed a rule or something, and then you clarified that you did not miss a rule, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this.
Yeah, a few people tried to solve it, and I don't think any of them made progress. Some people like asked me in DMs, like, can I get a hint for this? And I gave them a hint, and they're like, can I get another hint? And I gave them another hint, and they're like, okay, I'm done. I'm not gonna
Oh,
get
no.
this. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it is one of my hardest, if not my hardest puzzle. Quite a mouthful has contention, maybe, but
Mhm.
it's definitely up there. And I think it's just amazing that Simon was able to solve it on stream in under 100 minutes.
Yeah,
Like,
that is crazy.
blows me away that he can find these ideas. Quite a
Yeah.
mouthful is easier, IMO. Yeah, I kind of feel like it is. I kind of feel like Simon would be able to solve it now if he gave it an attempt. But, it's just built up such a notoriety that he's, I think, too afraid to ever attempt it. Or maybe he has and hasn't been able to do it, and it'll never see the light of day. So we'll never know.
Actually, I watched the video for Rosette today, and just to refresh, and he does say in that he once filmed a solve of someone puzzle. He didn't say who, but he spent 15 minutes during that solve staring at the screen without saying anything, so he had to not use the video because it was 15 minutes of silence, which I find hilarious.
That bothers me so much. It's like, no, Simon, please. Your viewers will eat that up. Just publish it anyway.
Can you
He's even
imagine? That
said,
would
like,
be hilarious.
he's talked about puzzles that he's, struggled on and had to turn off the video and then, solved later. It's like, you solved it later. Just make a post-solve video. It's free content. It's a super hard puzzle, obviously, and the logic's interesting, so the viewers will love it. It's a win-win situation. Why are you
Yeah.
but somehow, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, if we were all in his position, we'd probably be perfectionist about what we put up as well.
Maybe, but
this is the most enthusiastic I've ever heard a guest talk.
I get enthusiastic about stuff I care about.
Anyways,
And I want to see Simon do non-live solves, like, find
Yeah.
a cool puzzle and doesn't want to dilute his brand, I guess, but I don't know, fucking tell Mark the solution path. Let him do it. He's not going to dilute Mark's brand.
Okay. Anyways,
Make it a Patreon exclusive. I don't know. Like,
speaking of
it just bothers me more than it should.
Yeah.
Simon's little quirks.
Speaking of quite a mouthful, KNT had asked, specifically referring to quite a mouthful, how important is fun to you when making a puzzle? Because he says quite a mouthful was clearly designed with the intention of showing off an idea more than providing an enjoyable solve experience. So he's wondering how much you prioritize that when you're making a puzzle. Yeah,
I've seen this question. The short answer is it's not. It's something I'm trying to unlearn is that, puzzles are there to demonstrate, I think at some level I treat setting puzzles as more of a, demonstration, almost like a scientific paper than it is a, I set this for fun. And it's interesting too, the dichotomy of opinions, because I talk with a lot of people about setting. Well, not a lot. Really, what I mean is that I lurk on the sidelines listening to setting discussions in the Discord. And a lot of people talk about how, they're really obsessed with, like, the solve path and making sure it feels right. And those, people will come back and say, oh, I didn't really like this part. And they're like, oh no, my puzzle is bad because, this part was hard to get through. Even if the logic wasn't difficult, it was hard to find it. So I have to fix this. I have to amend the puzzle. For me, it's like, I just don't think like that. I just think, what is the logic I want to get in here? Where can I put it? Okay, there's a good spot. I'll put it there. Absolutely no thought goes into where the solver is looking or how they're feeling at the moment, or whether there's a moment of flow that I want to preserve, or whether it's a time to slow it down and make them like I just I'm looking at the chat now, like feel like these unsolvable chess endgame studies, and to an extent it is kind of like I do appreciate those unsolvable chess endgame studies. I like to just look at the solution to them. I don't like to solve those endgame studies because I can't look more than 2 moves ahead, at least not very deep into a line. I just forget that my queen is hanging.
Right.
But looking at the solution and being like, oh my gosh, you have to under promote to a knight so that you can block the bishop from getting to c4. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's the coolest thing ever, but it's not something that I'd actively enjoy solving. And I do feel like the puzzles I set are somewhere along that line. They're more demonstrations of logic than they are designed to be solved, which is why I'm so thankful for people like Simon, because he is able to showcase the logic. He's able to find what I'm trying to put down and actually show people, because otherwise they'd just be lost to obscurity. So it does mean that, other people can't solve them. I'm pretty sure Nevario will never solve one of my puzzles again, because the two he tried are probably my hardest puzzle. Well, second hardest puzzle and third hardest puzzle.
Right.
Actually, did Nevario look at Quite a Mouth, or not Quite a Mouth? Did he look at Rosette? He might have
I'm not
looked at
sure.
all three of my hardest puzzles and none of the other ones. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll never solve any of them. And the only other people I can think of are like Bremster, Mamarister, um, gosh, who else streams? Oh,Zetamath.Zetamath maybe, but he's got such a long queue, and I think in the submission guidelines it specifically says that he's looking for 3-4 star puzzles. So yeah, I've kind of limited my solving audience to basically just Simon and the people on Logic Masters Germany.
Yeah, I mean, I would solve one of your puzzles, but I don't solve on stream very often. Let's be real. But one puzzle that you have made, at least one, I think there's more than one, but at least one puzzle was not in the typical difficulty range that you sit in, and I feel like is not even similar to the style that would go into setting it, and that's one of the most famous ones is 178.
Yes,
Let's talk about that for a minute. Yeah.
That one was definitely one that I knew I had something good. I started out just with the idea, and originally I was thinking it was going to be like, this isn't going to work on its own. I'll find a grid that's relatively restricted, then I'll add some extra clues into the end. Maybe I'll add the clue that none of the diagonals can have the same total. That could be interesting if that gets it down to a single solution. Or maybe I'll add a single crop key dot, or I probably wouldn't add a single crop key dot, actually, now that I think about it. That would be pretty disgusting. But something like that. So I started playing around with it to see just how many solutions I could get it down to, using ranks solver, which best thing to happen to solving, best and worst thing to happen to solving, but I'll leave it at best.
Okay.
And I started just playing around with little killers, and I got it down to, I think, actually I might have the progress somewhere in here. It definitely wasn't called 178 when I was first setting it. Oh, little killer sum, that's what I called it.
So how
Yeah,
on
I
earth
got
did
it
you
down
even
to.
use rank solver to try to do that?
Well, here, I'll show you. I'll send you the image. Whoop. I like how that's
Oh my
just
God.
barely below 800 kilobytes. Perfect size. But yeah, you can see there the process I took more or less. I threw little killers into the grid, and then I shaded the cells that were affected by it. And then based on that shading, I would simply use rank solver to pencil mark the minimum possible totals. And you could see, I think I started out with like 1,112 solutions in the top left there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got it down to 20 solutions, which was pretty cool, just by adding things around sort of the edges of the puzzle. I got that down then even further. That one I don't think I got very low at all, but I started, and that was the first thing I did basically, was I put 2 big diagonals here and 2 big diagonals here, because that's got to be pretty forcing. That covers a lot of cells. And then I started working around the edges, seeing well, if I put a little killer in the very top left, it's probably not going to mess too much with the rest of the grid, so it should still be solvable. It's not going to create, and sometimes it did just break the puzzle immediately, but sometimes it didn't. And then to my surprise, I got it down to 18 solutions, and then 8, and then 2, and then I was like, once I had it down to 2 solutions, it was like I had to assume that there was a puzzle with one solution, and I put the 2 solution one up for testing. I forget how I disambiguated. I think I might have had no 2 little killers next to each other can have the same total, and I might have swapped it high low, so ones become 9s, 2s become 8s, and that. And I think that was enough to make it unique. I put that up in testing, and people were able to solve it, and they said they liked it. But I knew that there had to be a one solution puzzle out there, and I just felt like if I publish this as is, it might get featured. It's a cool idea.
Hmm.
If I get it down to one solution, like guaranteed,
Right.
pretty
Yeah.
much. So I made a program to basically do what I was doing, throw little killers in the grid and tell me how many solutions there were. There was a little bit of logic to which ones it tried, but not much. I think it basically just took, little killers until it could get it down to under 1,000 solutions. And then once it had it under 1,000 solutions, it would pick the little killer that reduced that number the most. And I churned away at it. And I think I had to do some optimization to actually make it run properly and not crash.
Right.
It just found a couple ones like within the first few 20 minutes of setting it off. And you could definitely optimize it better, but it was churning out puzzles that had one solution about as fast as I could solve those puzzles, mostly because a lot of them were not human solvable.
Right.
And eventually I just picked out 2 or 3 that I liked, put them up for testing. The first one I think had a really cool coloring argument on 6s and 7s to finish the end, but some people couldn't find the coloring argument and they were just like, ew, the end was disgusting. So I'm like, okay, I'll just, pick the absolute most trivial one that was, I think, all singles to resolve.
Yeah, I was gonna say, depending upon what your answer for how you went about setting it, that it's probably the least control over the grid that you have of any of your puzzles, and
Yeah,
it's the most like a classic Sudoku of any of your
it
puzzles.
is.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I don't set classic Sudoku. That shit scares me. I can't wait to find out how Shy does it.
Yeah, I think it was wise to pick the all singles one. I agree with Kodak.
I agree as well. I think, and this was, a big step for me as a setter to, release control. It's like this coloring step is cool, but this is the better puzzle, and I knew that. I just had to actually, yeah.
Definitely. Um, let's talk about another one of your puzzles, which was small, but not quite as easy. The caterpillar, little killer.
Yes.
Uh, and I'll refer to Jovial's question for you. Dear Gliperal, why?
Well, yeah. So actually, let me find the conversation I had with Clover. What did she say specifically? I assume everyone knows the context of the Caterdoker pillar, how it's a collab between 80 something people.
Yeah, so Clover got for the monthly prompt, which was collaboration, she got a bunch of setters, 80 or 81 maybe. 81 seems more thematic, so let's go with that. 81 setters together to set one 6x6 Sudoku, which was linked in a Gatai style to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, all the way around for a giant caterpillar, or Caterdoku, or whatever it was called. I can't remember. And there was one in the later part, which Gliperal contributed, which some people namedZetamath, they didn't do that one, so they didn't actually solve the puzzle.
All right, I'm pretty sure Clover has given me permission to post this. I sent it to someone else before in the Cracking the Cryptic Discord, I'm pretty sure. So greatest puzzle of all time. Oh, the caterpillar, not mine. Okay, no, that makes sense. Caterpillar Little Killer was memorable for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, it was an interesting choice by Clover to specifically ask this of me, but here you can see the original message that I got sent. Hey Gliperal, I was wondering, would you be willing to help with my project for this month's puzzle prompt? I'd send you a 6x6 Sudoku with 4 givens already placed, and you turn it into a solvable puzzle in any way that makes you happy. Full disclosure, I'm contacting you because someone else I contacted said the words, and I quote, I hope it doesn't have a terrifying Gliperal puzzle in it. And I thought to myself, that would be brilliant. Why didn't I think about it? Let me know.
Well,
And
I
I
guess.
told Clover, I can try, but 6x6, it's hard to make, it's hard to make brutal 6x6 puzzles because it's so easy to just bifurcate through. And so I was thinking, okay, what would be not that easy to bifurcate through? Little Killer's terrifying. I had an idea for a Prime Sweeper puzzle, where you've got Prime Sweeper clues and then Prime Sweeper clues, which give you the number of Prime Sweepers in the neighboring cells,
Oh my
which I'm
word.
still going to work on.
That's
but
terrifying.
yeah, that one's just like mental gymnastics. So I'm pretty sure if I was able to get that work in a 6x6 grid, that would have been a pretty disgusting puzzle as well.
If you're still working on that, I bet Grockles would be all over that idea, and I bet he
I
would totally.
contacted Grockles about that a while ago,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, he was interested, but didn't, not that interested. Didn't lead to anything, basically.
Well, he's doing that series with I don't want to speak for him, but like he's doing a series in the I can't remember what it's called now.
Jay Dyer made a sweeper. Damn it, beat me to the chase.
No. Did she really? Of course she did. She didn't take all the good ideas.
I'll have to see if it's like as disgusting as I'm hoping mine will be, or if it's like an actually good puzzle.
Oh, it wasn't a Prime Sweeper. Yeah, Grockles and Friends. Yeah, Grockles and Friends, not in Friends.
Oh, is that what that series is? It's all Prime Sweep, or it's all sweepers?
No, it's Grockles collaborating with other people.
Not too late for a sweeper. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Sorry, I mixed up the two conversations.
No, sorry. It's collaborations with Grockles. So if you want to suggest that to him, you have backup of all the 20 people and hundreds of people who will be watching this.
Yeah, it's currently sitting about halfway completed. So the problem is there's no good continuation.
Or maybe there is, but
or maybe there is, but I'm too stubborn. I'm like, no, I don't want to add that clue. It's too easy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I just didn't want to say it.
I probably should. And the thing is, if I add an easy clue, it might unlock, it'll actually free up the rest of the grid. So now I can add proper clues instead of just being stuck at this one step forever.
Right.
I should do that. I just have to pick which clue I want to add. I do like the break-in, though. The break-in has some really lovely interactions. It's a bitch to wrap your head around, but sorry, that's like the third time I've sworn.
It's okay. Speaking of break-ins, I know we had a couple questions about break-ins. Naverio asked, most of your puzzles involve an impossible to spot global break-in, or a nearly impossible to spot global break-in.
Yes.
Why do these appeal to you, and which puzzle of yours that utilize such an opening is your favorite?
Why do they appeal to me? Good question. I just like innovation, I guess. I like, I mean, puzzles are great. I love, for instance, jam puzzles. They don't put out that much new content or like new ideas, but the stuff they do put out is just so good. It's like it's a treat to solve every day. Obviously on a bit of a hiatus right now, but No, I just like you can innovate locally too. True. I just seem to like I'm pushed in the direction of global logic. Probably because global logic is easier to find things like that. If you've got something that you want to convey and you don't want it to be as simple as, just testing all the options in a box, you spread it across 4 boxes and then haha, good luck testing all of those. Um
I love how the answer to why do you use these impossible spot global openings is because I'm that good.
okay, yeah, sorry, I deviated a bit from the question.
Yeah.
Um
That's a good answer though, with the 4 boxes for sure. Like it's less
yeah,
less
I
easy to
I
bifurcate.
I do think though, like what I enjoy about setting is and this is true of everything I create. It's not just setting puzzles, but you know, it's making Knit Stories levels, it's making, routing for speedruns,
Hmm.
tasks. I don't like just making something. I have to make something new. It's an obsession of mine.
Right.
If there's not a new idea in it, I'm not inspired to set it. And that's honestly a lot of how my break-ins happen is that they're, you know, I'm just thinking about a rule set. Like I'm thinking about Rosette, for instance. It was basically just, you know, what happens if I have uh a puzzle where one thermometer leads into the next and it's ambiguous where the bulbs are, which by itself is not that interesting of an idea. I got pretty lucky in that regard that this one idea just happened to blossom into something so cool. But at first it was just like, okay, well, how could I possibly make this work? If they're in a circle, so the bulbs and tips are really ambiguous, how would I even get information about this in? And, well, geometry, obviously, one thing that would cause restriction is if digits are forced to repeat close to each other. So I looked
Right.
at places where digits are forced to repeat close to each other. And actually, let me share. This is a segue into Rosette again. I'm sorry we're spending so much time on this puzzle, but
No, it's fine. It's a cool puzzle.
oh yeah, it was originally called Bag of Worms. I forgot that because I originally wanted all of the other thermometers to be inside of the ring itself. But then, once I found the thermometers on the corner, that was too good to pass up. But originally, when I was playing around with it, it wasn't the classic ring. It was, random restriction things that force digits to repeat close to each other. For instance, one of them was like there's 3 cells in a column and 3 cells in a row that merge onto a box. Yeah, you can kind of see it in the bottom right of that top left image. Uh, the green cells are the best repeat that you can get, and that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 apart.
Right.
Sorry, the top left image, but the bottom right of
Oh,
that puzzle.
right. Okay. I see.
Yeah, there you can see those green cells. They repeat. If you imagine a thermometer running from the top green one to the bottom gray one, that would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cells. And you get to repeat 7 cells apart as opposed to 9 cells apart. So that really only eliminates 2 degrees of freedom. It's not that good. I did find the piece you see at the top there, which ultimately ended up being the meat and potatoes of the puzzle. Um, and you can see I tried to work it in like upside down. Like, what if I spin it around this way? And then, I flipped it right side up. And the original idea was I was going to have 4 or 5 of these geometrically restricted patterns around the grid. And you'd have to understand all of them in order to make progress. But once I realized that, you know, if you put these 4 together, A, it's the most restricted layout I could find, and B, it's got 1 degree of freedom. Once I
Hmm.
found that, it was like, okay, this is the puzzle. Like I couldn't do anything else. Yeah, all of that is to say that that wouldn't have happened. I didn't set out to create something amazing. I was just thinking like, what unique logic can I get by gluing thermometers together that I couldn't get with the thermometers separate?
Right.
And this idea of, you know, distance and forced repeats, because you can't have a repeat on a thermometer. What does that even mean? You know? So this is something that was unique to this genre that I wanted to explore.
Right.
And it just so happened to, come together in such a really interesting way.
I'm glad you gave us all these cool images to look at, because this actually brings up a question that I had somehow thought of before we even sat down together. Do you often take careful note of everything you do while setting?
Yes. Maybe not necessarily careful note, but I do try and document, the process. I don't know why, just for posterity, I guess. But, it was helpful in my airlock setting video, and it's helpful in this interview that I can, call back on these images.
Yeah, definitely. That's where I was watching the airlock setting with you, and that's why I came up with that. I was like, seems like way too much knowledge of what he was doing.
Another thing I do is uh, I obsessively save replays of
Mhm.
like 5-star puzzles that I've solved. And I recently found out that uh, Penpa has a hard coded 1 hour limit on replay files. Like after that point, it just deletes all the timestamps,
Oh no.
which pissed me off so much that I made a fork of Penpa myself and then edited it so that it was a 10-hour limit on replays so that I can actually have my replay files for like these massive, puzzles that take 3-4 hours to solve.
Well, hope we didn't lose too much of the replays from that.
Well, you can still see the solve path, just not
Right.
the solve path in live replay,
Right.
which is kind of mostly what I like because, I want to see if someone else is solving the puzzle. I want to see like how quickly they found certain steps, how quickly I found certain steps.
Mhm. This is an interesting question, and we have gotten some hints at the answer, but Kodak had asked, how do you really feel about your reputation as a setter?
See, that's an interesting question because, well, I guess first I have to ask, what is my reputation as a setter? I know it's definitely Gliperal sets hard puzzles.
Yeah.
There's that aspect to it. I want to know what people think about me. Do they think I set good puzzles or do they think I set bad puzzles that are just hard for the sake of being hard?
I mean, we can go to a different question from Daniel Silverstone. He had said, you have developed a reputation for exceedingly difficult, though very elegant logic in your puzzles. So
Okay.
that's his interpretation of your reputation, or your
Yeah.
reputation.
There's definitely like pretty much the only feedback I have on my reputation. Well, not the only feedback, but most of it is from Simon going like, "Oh my gosh, this is beautiful," but Simon will look at a naked single 7 in a box and be like, "Oh man, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen." And it's like, "Simon, it's a naked single. What are you on about?" Also, that's not the only way you can find that cell. You can also see that it's, the last cell.
Yeah.
I don't mean to crash on Simon so
No.
much in this interview. I love the guy, but he's got his little intricacies.
Yeah.
But no, I think, yeah, inaccessible beauty. That's an interesting way of putting it. I think for the original part, I mean, I relished in it. It's kind of fun to be evil, you know? You get to watch people being like Simon would open the videos and open the puzzles, and he'd be like, "Oh no, it's from this guy." We've solved some of his puzzles in the past, and that sort of thing. It's just fun to watch. But then what happens is that because I have developed that reputation, because all my puzzles are so monstrously difficult, is that people don't solve my puzzles. Like even the easy ones, I'm realizing they have this stigma to them. Like oh, it's a Gliperal puzzle. Stay 20 feet away.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I can't lie. That hurts a little bit. It's like I don't just set hard puzzles. I make some accessible ones. It's ironic. I think my hard puzzles actually get solved more than my easy ones. I don't fully understand why.
All right. Well, there's a question from Ron Planner. What is your most underrated puzzle? A puzzle you personally very much like, but hasn't got much attention. You get to plug one of your puzzles that you want people to solve.
See, I love this question because it's basically just, it's like it's basically just free reign. Plug your puzzles here. Maybe not exactly, but you built that bed yourself. I know, and now I got to lie in it. Which, yeah, in retrospect, I could see that happen. You know what I'll do? I'll make an alt account. A new person will appear on the Discord. That'll be setting approachable, but also, intricate puzzles. And then you'll be like, is this Gliperal? I don't know. Sorry, I got distracted. The question was underrated puzzles. Yes.
The maze is Chameleon's suggestion for underrated puzzles.
The maze was too underrated. Yeah, so underrated that no one had ever seen it before. The Larapilge. Perfect.
Yeah. No one will see it coming.
What'd be really funny is if someone else makes the alt account Larapilge now. You'll never know. Is it me? Is it not me? Sorry, I keep getting distracted. Underrated puzzles. I have two answers to this. One, is The Devil is in the Details, which is, I don't think it's even got a proper rating on Logic Masters Germany yet. It's one of the few puzzles of mine that hasn't reached 10 solves. And it's, I think, more approachable than most of the puzzles I've set. I may have slightly underestimated the difficulty with 3 stars. I think it's probably closer to 4, but I really like the grid. I really like the opening logic. I think it's got some nice mixture of geometrical and arithmetic deductions. Probably the reason it hasn't got many solves is because it's using a new rule set that's a little hard to wrap your head around. But I think once you do, it's got a lot of potential, and I'd like to see other puzzles that use this rule set as well. I'm working on another puzzle I'm working on a lot of puzzles right now, so this probably won't come out for a while, but that's using the same rule set to hopefully show it off a little better. Yeah, I just really like this puzzle. I think it's a good, solid puzzle. It doesn't have a terrifying opening. It's got a little bit of interplay between clues, but it's not what I would necessarily call a global deduction. It's just a good puzzle, and I think more people should solve it.
Got a good theme.
And my second answer to that question is, and this one's also a bit of my own fault, but I set a Halloween pack for last year. I spent basically all of October setting a pack of pencil puzzles. It's got, I think, around 7 puzzles in it that vary in difficulty from 2 stars to 5 stars. I had them tested. I think it was by It's Stark Jr. And he gave me feedback, and I adjusted some of the ones that I thought were unfair, added some puzzles to help even out the difficulty curve. And then one puzzle that was just absolutely monstrous, I decided, okay, I'll make that a bonus puzzle for the pack. So if you don't have to play it, you don't want to. You don't have to play it if you don't want to. And then I spent the rest of the month making basically like cover art for every single puzzle. And I, put it all together in LaTeX and, gave it this, I think it's nice visual theming. It's all Halloween themed. and no one played it. Like, actually 0 people. And I was I was surprised by that. I shouldn't be too surprised. I think there's a couple things that contributed to that. One being I didn't properly advertise it because, I don't know how to do advertising, and I'm not that active in the server. I
Mhm.
want to be more active, but all the Europeans are active at night, so again, that whole debacle. But uh, I
Where
guess
is
there's also
this?
streams happening in the morning.
Is this just
Um,
in Sudoku recommendations or
it's
puzzle
in
recommendations?
Discord Puzzle
Yeah.
Archive, which was
Oh.
the problem is that I released it into the channel where puzzles go to die, to put it
Yes.
bluntly. And yeah, I didn't want to like go around advertising saying like you should play my puzzle pack because I hate people that go around the Discord saying you should play my puzzle. I think those are the most detestable sort of human being. No offense to anyone who does that. I'm sure you have good reasons, but
Uh-huh.
you know, shill your puzzles in a more respectful way. And the other thing that happened was that this was around the same time, like literally the day before, is when the Sudoku Cult released their
uh,
puzzle pack. So yeah, it kind of just got, if anyone was going to play a puzzle pack at that point, it was the Sudoku Cult one. And even I played it. Like, I can't complain too much. That was a good pack, but you do a pretty good job of masking your contempt for other people. Yeah, like I said, I was talking with Memrister earlier before this interview about how I'm really good at railing on things I hate. I'm not as good at railing on things I like. So come find me at the bar afterward. We'll have a talk about anti-night.
we can talk about anti-night right now. What's something you see other sellers do that annoys you, or your puzzling pet peeve?
Anti-night. I mean, there's a lot of them. Anti-night, Miracle, obviously. Non-consecutive, disjoint. Like I think all of those things are pretty bad, but anti-night in particular, which is a little what's the word, hypocritical, because I've made so many anti-night puzzles, but after solving a certain number of anti-night, it's just it's so bad. The main problem it has is that it devolves so quickly into just anti-night. You can make
Mhm.
like a single break-in step or like 2 or 3, and then the rest is just anti-night. Like the puzzle takes over from there, and you're like, holding on to the reins trying to control it, but you can't because it's a wild animal, and off it goes. And that's what
Exactly. Yeah.
happens to most anti-night puzzles for both the setter and for the solver. So the solver, they're solving half a puzzle every single time they play anti-night, and then they just have to solve regular anti-night, and it's the most disgusting thing ever. Even my easy as 1 2 3 puzzle, which got so much praise, it has a terrible hidden single 8 in like row 7 that you have to find in order to progress the solve, which is not the worst anti-night step ever. I managed to curtail most of it, but it's still just bad. It's like, and it happens with every single puzzle. You can make some absolutely beautiful break-ins with anti-night because the geometry works out so well, and I love anti-night break-ins. I hate the rest of it, and
Yeah.
moreover, I hate what people do with it because it's not you, it's the variant. It's bad, and if you want to make it work for you, you have to put in a lot of work to actually make
Yeah.
the end solve smooth, and not just feel like you're playing a classic. And by classic, I mean just classic anti-night puzzle. So
Yeah. Speaking of times that Simon says something's beautiful when it's not beautiful at all, the end of anti-night puzzles, I swear when he says
yes,
it's so beautiful,
yeah,
and it's like it's mind-numbing. Yeah.
yeah, and it's ironic too because I like solving classic anti-knight because I'm good at it, but it something about variant puzzles. It's like I'm playing a variant puzzle. I want to play with the variant. I don't want to play, just classic for the last anti-knight constraint that only applies to the first 20 digits. That's pretty good.
That sounds like an innovation to me.
Yeah, delimited anti-knight is good. But you know what? You know what delimited anti-knight is? Anti-king. Anti-king is the most underrated rule set because it does everything anti-knight does. Any break-in you can make, I mean, you can't. Like there's still break-ins I want to make in anti-knight but can't because I would run into the problems at the end. But anti-king has the same capability for logic where cells that shouldn't normally see each other, they can see each other, and you get these really interesting interactions, and it doesn't have any of the problems that anti-knight does. Why do more people not set anti-king puzzles? It's like just it's
Yeah, definitely. That is definitely a big pet peeve, for sure.
I told you I could rant about things that I hate.
Here's a good question. When you set non-Sudoku, do you set it in the same way as you would Sudoku?
I don't set much non-Sudoku, but yes, I would say they are different, mostly because you have to work more with non-Sudoku to get the break-in you want not to be bypassable. And we're back to this again, which sorry, but there's a lot of really cool ideas in pencil puzzles that simply do not work. Like you can prove that no matter how you set it, it will always be bypassable. Because for instance, like let's say there's one really forcing constraint of I don't know, simple loop, and it's got a really cool logical flow and you get a lot of information out of it, but at the end of the day, it's got a irresolvable uniqueness issue. And that sort of thing just doesn't happen as much with Sudoku because you always have a way to resolve unique things like that. I mean, maybe you could do it with something like what are the variants called where you have an even number of shaded cells in every row and column? Anyway, the variants like that you could maybe get away with because then it's not that restrictive on the break-in, but once you get deeper into the puzzle, then you start to see, then it can resolve earlier irregularities. So maybe you could do it with that. But just in general, pencil puzzles are, I feel, and there's a lot of people that disagree with this. There's a lot of people think pencil puzzles are easier to set. But for me, they're harder to set because you can't, for one, none of the break-ins I want to make can be made.
Yeah.
And two, all of the, so much of it is local logic, which is maybe one of the reasons I really enjoy solving pencil puzzles is because, no one can put in any global logic that I have to think about. And it's really easy to just, look ahead until you see where to go. Although I have had an interesting idea for a logic puzzle that literally is just bifurcation, like you're following two possible solution paths all the way across the grid until they get resolved in the bottom right corner and then cascade all the way back up. I think that could be really cool. I don't know what genre it would be, but yeah, pencil puzzle hybrids tend to fix that problem.
Yeah.
Preferably not with Sudoku, because pencil puzzles are good on their own. Please set more pencil puzzles. We have enough Sudoku. But yeah, that's the main difference with setting pencil puzzles is that it's harder to maintain that the logic that you want to put in them.
Yeah. There's also the whole issue where it's very different from Sudoku where usually you're having to add clues to make it unique, whereas in pencil puzzles sometimes you have to add clues to make it unique, but there's always the option not to add a clue to a certain area, and not adding a clue is very much different in pencil puzzle than
right.
Sudoku.
Yeah, stuff like Nurikabe, where just whether or not an area has a clue tells you a lot about it.
Yeah.
Although to that aspect, like K&T has been introducing me to a lot of puzzles that have like cipher puzzles or Napdanabin or that's probably a terrible pronunciation of that.
It's okay. We were both. Yeah, last stream we had
Irvish
said.
puzzles, which is the coolest idea ever. I don't know why no one has done this with Sudoku, but I love the idea of Irvishes. More
What's that
people should
again?
set.
Remind me?
It's you have a character where everywhere it is used in a clue, it represents a different digit. Name a single Sudoku puzzle that used that idea.
Can't think of one.
Exactly. Why not? It's such a cool idea. More people should use it. And the thing about like stuff like that and cipher and different number bases is that it doesn't break the break-in. The break-in still works, and then the break-in gives you some of the letters in the cipher or some of the number bases or some of the information about the Irvish. And then once you've got that, then you can follow it through to the rest of the solve path.
Right. Yeah, that is pretty cool. Let's do some rapid fire questions because we're almost at the end time.
Yes.
Okay, so I think you're familiar. One answer or the other as fast as you can.
Let's go.
Local or global deductions?
Global.
As I was saying that, I laughed. Coloring or good living?
Good living.
Simple or complex?
Complex.
Geometry or arithmetic?
Geometry.
Penpa or F puzzles?
Penpa. Penpa all the way.
Sudoku or pencil puzzles?
Pencil puzzles.
Chaos or order?
Chaos.
Calculator or abacus?
Abacus.
Cages or lines?
Ooh. Lines.
Arrows or dots?
Dots.
To disambiguate a puzzle, a given or a clue?
Given.
Outside or inside clues?
Well, I guess it depends on the previous one, but
Okay, yeah.
outside.
Good or evil?
See, I want to say good, but now is that just because Niverio said evil in the chat? I don't know. Probably evil.
Oh, chaotic evil. I hadn't thought of it. We could ask lawful or chaotic?
You know, lawful evil does sound pretty tempting. What about just neutral evil?
Neutral should also be an option, probably.
Yeah.
Give me your alignment.
Give me your alignment.
All right. Andrew Salkis had asked, and I think we sort of answered this, but I love the wording here. When you set, do you optimize for evilness?
Okay, for Catter Doker Pillar and Prime Sweeper and the Secret Satan puzzles, the answer is 100% yes.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, otherwise, I optimize for the most interesting logic possible.
Right. Which just happens to be not something. Oh, okay.
Cat.
Cat was very, very dirty. Just one second. Yeah, I know. You're disgusting.
Who got Gliperal's Secret Satan? I think that was Astral Sky Ranger got. Yeah, Kirganis was my Santa, and then I was. Except Astral Sky Ranger goes by a different name on the Secret Satan secret server. What is it? Galactic Zodiac? Yeah, I think that's the one. Which is a perfect time to shill Secret Satan. It's coming back next year, so all of you guys get ready for that.
Secret Satan being the Secret Santa for evil Sudoku setters.
Exactly.
Okay, just.
You know what's funny too about Astral Sky? Their request for the Secret Satan puzzle. In the like list of things that they like, one of them was, I like really long chains of fiddly arithmetic deductions, and I'm like, well, that's easy to make. I just have to, do what I usually do, which is bash a puzzle until something happens, and then include that in the solve path. It's perfect.
This might be an interesting question for you. What's the best LMD comment you've ever read on one of your puzzles?
Best LMD? Oh, on one of my puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say the angry face that we saw last stream.
That was a good one.
Let me see. I have to look at my comments page. I mean, I did. It's a little biased, but I did get one comment full. So obviously that one meant a lot to me because, he's like one of the old boys.
One comment from who, sorry? You broke up a little bit. Oh, no.
It hasn't been featured and hasn't really got much, many people solving it. And Fistum Fell said he really liked it. So that, that comment was really nice. I don't think it's my favorite one, though. What would my favorite comment be? Oh gosh, now I'm just digging through all the comments I've got on 178.
It's okay. We can move on from that.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
I got a comment on I have one puzzle that's not really a pencil puzzle or a Sudoku. It's basically just like a little gimmick puzzle. It's like an arithmetic puzzle, if anything, I guess. And I got one puzzle on that. The spoilers for the solution to the puzzle, by the way, and it wasn't even in English. I think it was in German, and the comment just said fractions with like a smiley face. And I don't know, that one made me smile because it's like, yeah, fractions, you got it. Isn't that cute? I like it.
That's wonderful.
It didn't get rated well, the puzzle, but I'm still happy I put it out there because it's just cute.
Yeah. Do you have any puzzling regrets? Like, is there any puzzle you want to take back or redo?
All the puzzles I want to take back, I have already. No. Yes, in Insanity, which is not the name I gave it, but it's the name Simon gave it. It's the disjoint little killer puzzle. I really regret not just letting the break-in be the break-in. Because I watched the video after setting the puzzle and after it had been out a while, and Simon finds the break-in. He finds the fundamental restriction between the cells. You can even see it in the image down there, the red and blue ones. It's like right below me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's how to put it. But that's not the break-in. You get to this point, which is basically the summary of all the interesting logic, and then you have to continue. You have to add on. This one uses all of the little killers on the left side of the puzzle. You have to add on exactly one of the little killers from the right side of the puzzle to get a meaningful restriction on them and to actually start the puzzle. And it's just, why? Why did I do this? The solver, they found the break-in. They found the hard logic to spot. and I didn't reward them for it. And I could easily have, because I think those cells end up being the high cells on the diagonal anyway. And Simon got to this point in the solve video, and he's you can see that he's just crestfallen. He's talking about like, no, this was beautiful and it's got 8 degrees of freedom left. And I think if I had to go back and redo any puzzle, I would make the break-in would end right there, and then the rest of the puzzle would be virtually the same.
Right.
And maybe I'd get rid of the really disgusting naked single 3 that you have to spot, because disjoint is disjoint.
Right. Disjoint.
Yeah, I'd have to say that probably.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I'd love to end on a positive note rather than a regret, actually. So, are there any specific puzzles that you've solved that have had a massive impact on how you view puzzles?
Ooh. I mean, a lot of the early ones probably. Like, when I first got into cracking the cryptic, I was solving maybe not all of the puzzles, but a lot of their puzzles, at least all of the interesting ones. And I would, this was back before I was good enough to solve Sudoku on my own. So I would like solve a little bit, get stuck, watch Simon, be like, okay, that's what I have to do next, solve a little bit. And then, and puzzles like the first hidden skyscraper was just really cool, both visually and logically. And it's got such a simple rule set, but such an interesting, so much interesting logic just evolves from it. I wish more people would come up with rule sets like that than, God, whatever we have nowadays, entropy lines or whatever is the next hot thing. Some quads. Is that what people are into these days? Is that what kids are into these days? But there's a lot of really cool, just a lot of those puzzles left a huge impact on me, and probably the things that I value in terms of like what makes puzzles beautiful and what I enjoy setting. But also stuff like, if we're talking about more modern puzzles, honestly, the biggest thing that opened my eye recently was KNT showing me some of the puzzles from iBag and 2Ace, and the like the old halogen puzzles, and the cryptic, Irvish, different number bases, irregular, what have you, all of that stuff, and I'm kind of tempted. I think my setting is probably going to take a turn towards more pencil puzzles nowadays, now that I'm into that sort of mood. We'll see if it stays that way, because Sudoku is obviously easier to set than pencil puzzles. Well, not obviously, but for me, Sudoku is easier to set than pencil puzzles.
Right.
At least for the type of stuff I do. But for now, I definitely want to explore that area of the world. And I want to bring Irvishes to Sudoku, because, God, people need to set with those. They're so cool. Naverio seems worried about this answer, but it's happening. You can't stop it.
It's funny because
I've already set 2 pencil puzzles.
I'm pretty sure that KNT tries to get people into these old puzzles in order for that people would make more of these kind of puzzles, so that he can solve more of these kind of puzzles. I know KNT, and this is definitely why he's doing this. And also he just wants people to solve them. But that's part of it, probably. And then Navario's on the opposite side, and he's like, no, don't make them more. KNT will ask me to solve them then.
I know. It worked too. Like, KNT wanted more halogen puzzles, and I made a halogen puzzle, so...
It's working. Anyways.
KNT Gliperal collab? I'd love to collab with people, but I'm too shy to actually ask them. And I think probably people wouldn't want to collab with me, because my obsessive nature to like, no, I have to explore every single possibility that exists in this grid before we can place the next clue. Yeah, I'd love to collab with people, but I just feel like it wouldn't. I have the same problem with the speed setting competitions. It's like I simply cannot set a puzzle in an hour or an hour and a half if we get the extensions. I've tried to set 6x6s in speed setting collabs, and I haven't been able to do that either. So, you think torturing Nevario is a thing? It does seem to be, doesn't it?
Yeah.
KNT
Yeah.
sorry, I'm
KNT is...
probably going overtime, but
Yeah, a bit.
KNT would 100% want to collab with me. It feels like it. We have very similar opinions on things. Like,
You're
I
definitely
was just
similar
watching
people.
KNT's. Yeah, I was watching KNT's Setter Spotlight series like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, something like that, and I was just watching him talk about all these things, and I'm like, yes, me too. I agree. Puzzles shouldn't have set in the title. Why do people do that?
Right. Yeah, Canty is also someone who has a lot of fun getting upset about things. We've had there's a very wide range of personalities in Sudoku.
Yeah, I just want to comment on this. Sorry, I keep
no,
taking
go
over.
ahead.
You're trying to wrap up here, and I'm keeping. Nevario just said I should be like Ranks and Zeta and just ignore the existence of such puzzles. This is the problem that we have. This is the reason that I didn't find out about iBag or 2Ace or Vishtal until now, is because no one talks about these guys. Why? And a part of it is because you can't solve their puzzles on stream. I get that. They don't want the solutions publicly available. Fair enough. But we should talk about them. They're such cool puzzles. I want to know about these things. I want to see, maybe make like unlisted solution videos, and then anyone who has registered to solve on Logic Masters Germany can watch it and enjoy that. That would be fun. Like, oh, you did take part in Vishtal? That's so cool. I don't know. How do you... I'll ask later, sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, we should wrap up now. But
yes.
Thank you so much.
Sorry about that.
Gliperal, and
thank you for
the
this
chat.
opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad to have you on. Yeah, thank you so much to the chat and all my supporters, and remember to like the stream, which I wasn't even paying attention to that this time, but remember to like the stream and afterwards. And I will definitely get all those things, especially that Halloween hunt, up in the description, and I'll even advertise that in the server as well, because that looks awesome. Even do that.
It feels a little weird advertising it now that it's the middle of February, but
Halloween is an all year festival.
Halloween is all year. I'll single-handedly reintroduce Halloween because everyone will solve my pack.
Exactly. Halloween in February.
Exactly.
That just makes me... We're still going over time, but that just makes me think of the BoJack Horseman gag where they make I think it's Halloween in July store, or Halloween all year or something, and they forget to install the floor, so like constantly throughout the season people are like going up. It just cuts to a scene where people like go up to the store and they're like, Halloween all year? That's a great idea. And then they open the door, walk in, and just
That's amazing.
Epic show. Anyways,
it's a metaphor for what's going to happen when people start playing my puzzles.
If they get to the bonus,
they'll solve the first 6, and then they'll get to the last ones. It's just gone forever.
Gone forever. Yeah. Anyways, with that, we'll wrap up. Thank you so much, Gliperal. Thank you to the chat, and have a great rest. Oh no, wait.
And our next guest coming up is going to be Belsita.
Yeah, which is great because she had a feature today, so double good things happening.
Oh, did she? Awesome.
Yeah, she did. I think her debut on CTC, if I'm not wrong.
Sweet.
Yeah, she's had like 40 puzzles on Zeta's stream, but I think this is the first one on CTC. If that's not correct, Bella, please.
That's interesting.
Oh, second feature, first solo. Right. Okay. Sorry.
Second feature, first solo. Cool.
Oh,
it's like the opposite to what me. I've got solves on CTC, but nothing on Zeta Math and nothing on Nevario. or like one, maybe,
Right.
but I don't think it's highlighted.
Sorry, I forgot what the
But yeah,
thread was.
exciting to see that coming up.
Yeah, should be awesome. Looking forward to it. All right. Have a great rest of your, I guess, week, because it's not the weekend yet, but I was gonna say weekend. Well, Friday and
Yep.
the rest of your weekend. Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, Memarister. Thank you, chat. I'm always on the Discord if you guys want to talk. Hit me up, please. I crave attention.
All right. See you guys. Bye.